Drew Markol of the Intelligencer, as we're playing a home game here today. Back in the office, and Drew, nice to see you, buddy.
Kim, always a pleasure.
And
I don't really mean that, but...
No, I can tell.
You know,
the sincerity is just
It looks
incredible.
good on camera.
Yeah.
Well, Kev, first thing I want to talk about this week is the craziness that's going on with Bristol having to play 7 games in 6 days. What is the deal with that?
Actually, it's 3 games in 8 days. They played Calvary Christian last week, and then they played on Tuesday. After you guys are seeing this, they played a game against Edison, which was made up from week 2. Mm-hmm. They're still going to play again this Friday night. The reason they're doing this, from what I've been told, is basically for playoff points. They are right now, 4 teams make the single-leg playoff field in the sub-region, which is District 1 and District 12. Right now, Bristol is the 4th seed. If they beat Edison on Tuesday, they will vault up probably into the top 2 or 3 and avoid having to play Jenkintown.
The bigger question is not what if it happens, but should they be allowed to play?
That's a great question, and honestly, I don't think they should, because of the fact, and we run into this scenario usually at Thanksgiving time, when teams are trying to play in the playoffs and play on Thanksgiving, which to me is
but that's only 2 games. I mean, I know it's a lot, but
but you're also talking the previous Friday too.
That's true.
Okay, so you're talking.
In some case, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, with a Ridley case, that's the one. I think that there's an injury risk here, especially when you're looking at a single A team having to play a quad A team in Edison. Right. I really think that it's an unnecessary risk, but I can understand the way the playoff points are structured. Bristol feels like they have to do it. Remember, the one thing to remember in all this, if Bristol didn't play this game, they would have had their points totaled out by 9 games, which is what they would have had before the district deadline, without getting too complicated. When you look, there's 2 teams in AAA on opposite ends of the county that we really have to talk about. First would be in District 11, that's Palisades, who has a big game this week against Wilson. And down in the Willow Grove area, you have Upper Moreland, who obviously had a huge win last week against Upper Marion. Drew, what are we looking at right now from both these teams?
Well, first of all, Kev, I've got to correct your geography. With Upper Moreland being in Montgomery County, unless they moved it on us,
well,
then
it's close enough.
We'd have quite a story. But we'll start with Palisades. Last week, they're playing Northern Lehigh, which actually Northern Lehigh is struggling a little bit in the Colonial this year, but Palisades have never beaten them. Palisades goes out and hammers them a week before they're playing Wilson, which might be the biggest regular season game of the year. This week, you got to give Palisades a lot of credit. Brian Gilbert's got a big team. He's got a lot of talent. They return a bunch of kicks for touchdowns. The Wilson game should be exceptional. Then they shoot down to Upper Moreland. They went to Upper Marion last Saturday. 2 very good AAA teams. The winners in a prime spot. The losers, in a little bit of trouble. Upper Moreland goes and lays it on them. So a huge win there for Adam Beach and the Golden Bears.
Back to Palisades for 1 second. District 11 in 3A traditionally is very tough. Right. Very tough. Mm-hmm. If Palisades beats Wilson, where are they going to fit in this mix here?
Well, if they keep it going, again, the Colonial League, it is really balanced, and the league is really good. Palisades' only loss was to Bangor, and that's who was supposed to pick. Bangor was, I believe, they were picked to finish second to last out of 12 teams by the coaches in the preseason, and here they are, atop, the standings. It's a little too early to say. Every week, the way things are going with the top tier, it's a must-win.
One thing also to remember with Upper Moreland, with their division set up now, going to play a lot of 4A teams, a lot of high power points. Yep. And they're probably in line to have a really good seed once the AAA playoffs get set in District 1.
And the confidence boost from beating Upper Marion is enormous.
Yep, and so the next 4 weeks, it's going to be interesting to see where they fit in the final standings. Yep. One thing that not everybody will want us to talk about here, it's kind of the elephant in the room, is if you look beyond Penn, Neshaminy, Pennsbury, and Egan and Wood. The area seems to be awfully down when it comes to individual teams.
In Quad A.
In Quad A, and actually I think pretty much across the board. We talked about Upper Moreland and Palisades in AAA. But Drew, is there a specific reason you see, why a lot of these teams, it's a sea of almost mediocrity. A lot of 3-loss teams,
Right.
a lot of just bad football teams out there.
Well, Kim, I'm not sure if it's bad football, but maybe it is mediocrity. I'm not sure that that's always bad, but you do see you see A beating B, then B beating C, then then C loses to A, and you go back and forth week after week, and you never know. You really never know what's going to happen. A lot of times you can kind of predict things by this point in the season. Here we are in October. You can kind of judge, but now you look at it and say, Hatboro Horsham beats Souderton last week. Council Rock South have been playing very well. Abington comes there and beats them pretty handily. I don't know. Do we call it bubble teams for the playoffs, perhaps, or mediocrity? And you can pick your word, but there is definitely the haves, and there's a lot of potential have-nots that we're dealing with.
But you look at Council Rock South, who we've been big fans of on this program since the first week. South goes last week against Samkind and Abington and gets throttled at home. You look at Quakertown, who I think everybody's surprised is 5-1. There's still some doubts though when they head into this week and they're playing North Penn. I mean, you're talking a lot of teams that are not exactly the teams you expect to see up there, and not the teams that a lot of people have a lot of belief in at this point.
No, that's true. Well, Quakertown, after last year, they win one game. If you'd have told their coach John Donnelly he'd be 5-1 going to the North Penn game, he would have said, "I'll take it." He probably would have taken 4-2, 3-3. But it's I don't want to say it's a funny year, but it's a kind of an odd year where you have so much any given week, and there's another bad cliche that anybody can do it.
Meanwhile, if you look at down the southern end of the county, Rock South goes to Neshaminy on Saturday in basically an elimination game.
Right.
Because as much as CR South has played well, and they could get in with 3 losses, it's the way they've lost last week.
They still have Pennsbury on their schedule.
No, they're done with Pennsbury.
I'm sorry, okay.
But you look at the way they lost last week, and you wonder how they're going to react beyond that. They still have some potential roadblock games. They have the game at the end against Rock North, which could be with everything on the line. I think this is a huge week when you look at it for Rock South, and if they lost to Neshaminy, things could go real south real quick. So we've been talking a lot about the teams that have been playing. Next week we're going to look at some of the best players by position within the Courier and the Intel coverage areas. And we hope you'll join us then, as we'll be at Commonwealth League, and we're taking this show back on the road next week. So, sounds very good. Some of us may be there.
That's right. Hopefully it won't rain.
Hopefully it won't rain, and hopefully there won't be airplanes flying over. Before we go, final pick, NLCS, Dodgers, Phillies.
It pains me to say this, Kev, but I'll take the Dodgers in 6.
I'm taking the Phillies in 6. I think the Phillies bullpen and their pitching staff ends up being the difference.
May you be right for the first time.
I'm always right.
We'd love to know what you think, and it's easy to do. Just go to www.bucksmontsportsnow.com and to write us, send us a question, a comment, any kind of feedback on what's good, what's bad, what you'd like to see. Again, please let us know, because this is new to us and it's new to you. We'd love to hear from you. Again, www.bucksmontsportsnow.com is the way to do it.
Plus, to stay in tune with your community and for all your information needs, there's 2 websites that cover Bucksmont like no other. It's www.couriertimesnow.com and www.intelligencernow.com. Updated 24 hours a day. It's a continuous news site that covers everything, news and sports and all the goings on in your community. That's Courier Times Now and Intelligencer Now, your one-stop stop for local news.